Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Angelo Giannacaro, Councillor of the City of Bolzano. I'll be really short. We are so glad to have you all here today, coming from all over Europe to discuss this topic. Today, we are going to explore the issue of nightlife and how it is managed in different Italian and European cities. The city is inhabited by different groups, workers, entrepreneurs, tourists, students, and so on. Our task is to understand the different needs of the groups and to reconcile their realities. Cities must be able to offer entertainment and cultural activities in the evening hours, as well as ensuring the proper functioning of the urban network during the day. How can we combine these two realities? Today, we have Mr. Ramello, founder of Club Futuro and PhD researcher in this field, who is going to introduce the topic and give us insight on what nightlife is and how it works. I would like to thank the participants of this event, Mrs. Clancy, the Deputy Mayor of Bologna, Mrs. Casonato, the Night Mayor of Trento, Jean-Yves, a well-known sociologist and expert on time policies at the European level, and Mrs. Maria Teresa Casado Cadarso as a representative of Barcelona. We hope that this conference will inspire many cities as well as around to embark on a path of better nightlife management. I wish you all a good job and a big thanks to my work team, Silvia, Sabina, and Noemi. And I leave the floor to Riccardo Ramello.
Thank you very much, Angelo. Thank you for inviting me. I'm super happy to be presenting this panel. I'm a PhD researcher based in London, and I'm doing my final year of PhD in nighttime economy and violence here in the UK. And I'm also the founder of Club Futuro, which is a cultural association based in Torino, trying to do cultural projects in the field of nighttime economy and clubbing. Today we're gonna talk about nightlife and urban policy, and we're gonna hear some interesting projects from different places. I'm gonna just briefly introduce the speakers, and then I'm gonna leave to them, and they're gonna dive deep into each individual project. So first of all, we have from Barcelona, Maite Casado, manager of safety and prevention of the city of Barcelona. She's a lawyer with more than 2 decades of experience in the public sector, with a focus on safety, prevention, and internal affairs. Then also from Barcelona, we have Andreina Seias, and she's an expert in nocturnal governance and planning, and a senior consultant at Eden City. She's currently working with the city of Barcelona in designing a vision and governance model to help manage the city at night. Then from France, we have Jean-Yves Boulin. He's a sociologist in the field of work and employment. He's been involved since the 80s in many researchers' fields of time issues and labor organization, working condition, and work-life balance for individual working time regulation. And he's also is now an associate researcher at Paris Dauphine University. Then from Italy, we have Giulia Casonato, who was elected in Trento in the elections of 2020, and now she became in 2021 the first nighttime economy mayor in Italy, and she's gonna talk about like the projects and the vision that they are trying to develop in the city of Trento. And finally, we have Emily Clancy, who is the nighttime economy mayor of Bologna. She was elected in 2021, and also she's gonna talk about their current projects in the field of nighttime economy. So I'll now leave the room to Barcelona, and I'd like to hear something more about the projects that you are developing. You told me that you're now doing a new project which is called Nit Civica e Segura, and it would be very interesting to hear something more about that.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Here we are Andreina Seijas and me, and we are very grateful to be here with you, and we are very happy to be invited. And we want to explain you and to share with you what are the situation and the experiences in Barcelona night, and especially that we are working just now in a new project called Barcelona for a Safe and Restful Night. But the capital question for us is why the Barcelona City Council is working on it. The answer is in the summer of 2021, when the COVID restrictions began to be solved, large numbers of people gathered in Barcelona's public spaces to socialize and interact with each other in a fun and festive environment. This kind of activity is known as botellots. But what is a botellot? What are the botellots? Botellots are mass outdoor drinking parties. It means there's a lot of people drinking in the street and dancing. Last summer, in 2021, the botellots were attended by city residents, but also a lot of tourists too. But this phenomenon in Barcelona was further complicated during the festivities of La Mercè and the district of Sarrià by the existence of big botellots involving thousands of people, in which a few smaller groups took advantage of the situation to commit property crimes, damage property, carry out violent attacks on people, and engage in other antisocial behaviors. So, as a result, it became necessary to analyze and work hard to decide how to deal with this type of problem, especially botellots and big botellots. The political decisions of Barcelona City Council was to approve a government measure creating the Safe and Respectful Nights project. This project pretends to use an holistic approach for this issue. Two of the first considerations made in Barcelona were, although the botellots already existed before in Barcelona, before the pandemic, they have changed. In any case, they are considered a fact. It's a reality that is here to stay with us. And now we know that not all the botellots are the same. We distinguish between small botellots and big botellots because they have different consequences and risks. And our second consideration was understanding that two types of incidents can take place at night in our city. The first type of incidents are considered emergencies, which the city is already prepared for and for which it has all the necessary mechanisms, such as police forces, the medical emergency service, the civil defense, and fire services. There's no problem with the emergencies for Barcelona. But the second type of incidents are those that involve incidents relating to coexistence or antisocial behavior, such as a lot of noise in the night, dirt, vandalizing the street furniture, graffiti, or using the public highway as a toilets. Now, in Barcelona, we don't have the suitable response. In other words, for these incidents, the second type, we don't have appropriate mechanisms and bodies in place to resolve them immediately during the night. The situation is giving rise to many complaints for local residents. And so we have to find a better solution. We need the best response for this situation and for this type of problem. And so now Andreina will explain you with more details and a better English than me, all the details of our project. But I stay here with you, but maybe you have some questions later for me. I stay here very, very, very happy, but Andreina will explain the details of our project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maite. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm very happy to be here, and thanks for the invitation to share with you the project that we're going to be working on, that we are working on right now. In the context that Maite just explained, the city of Barcelona has embarked on a nighttime governance strategy to respond to the current crisis while also preventing the situation from reoccurring in the future. And this strategy is based on three main pillars. The first is crafting a nighttime vision or a manifesto. The second one is developing an action plan. And the third one is designing a tailor-made governance model that helps Barcelona handle this phenomenon in a strategic, in a holistic, and also in a sustainable way. I'm going to explain briefly each of these points, each of these three pillars, and the actions involved that the city has been taking already, and also the ones that we're undergoing in the coming months. First, one clarification, and I'm sure all of you know, but in this context, we're talking about nighttime governance. And when we talk about nighttime governance here, we refer to urban governance, and this concept that involves the process by which many actors are involved in having an impact on the way cities function at night. And based on this idea that recognizing all these actors involved in the city is why the first element of this strategy is incorporating these voices in a nighttime vision or manifesto. So in November 2021, the city government created the Taula Ciutadana per una nit cívica y segura, which translates as a citizen table for a safe and civilized night, which consists in a new space of representation and participation for different city actors involved in this phenomenon, involved in the botellones, such as neighborhood associations, nightlife establishments, political parties, youth groups, and other organizations. The goal of this taula, of this group, is to host periodic meetings to involve these actors in crafting this manifesto or joint vision, a declaration of the intentions that gathers basic premises and ideas that ought to constitute our city's philosophy and the aspirations that Barcelona has when managing nighttime activity. And this manifesto is in the making. So the manifesto or vision will be designed through a series of participatory workshops that all members of Taula Ciutadana will be participating in, that will take place in May and June. As a matter of fact, they will start next week, and they will involve the different groups and subgroups involved in Taula Ciutadana. So there's a new space for them to express their different ideas and views. As I said, it's different groups. So it's neighborhood organizations on one hand, it's youth groups, it's political parties. So it's very different views that want to be given a space to voice out their concerns, as well as their ideas and contributions on how to change the situation at hand. The second element is an action plan. So a technical working group has also been created to involve different areas of city government in identifying key priorities and key actions. And this group is formed by representatives from public health, safety, culture, sports, commerce, tourism, communication, and cleaning services, as well as others. And later on, the group will also involve representatives from the transport department to deal with nighttime mobility, which is an issue that is very central to the city. This working group was responsible for producing a study, a diagnosis, to map and characterize the botellón phenomenon in practice, as well as understand the profile and the motivation behind it. What's the reason why these circumstances are happening and why they escalated during the pandemic? The group has also identified a series of actions that lie at the heart of the city's action plan, such as developing a communications campaign to inform and raise awareness of the coexistence challenges that exist in Barcelona, mapping the city's regular as well as irregular nighttime activity, revising and updating the city's regulations, such as sanctions and hours of operation for certain nighttime establishments, identifying innovative actions for conflict mediation and management, identifying actions to clean and maintain the city at night, reviewing police operations based on previous experiences, and identifying actions to prevent gender-based violence at night, particularly towards women. The workshops that we will be facilitating in the coming months with the Tara Ciudadana are also a space to complement the results of this study and diagnosis and to help identify other potential actions and solutions. And last but not least, there is a governance model, which is once a vision and an action plan are in place, the idea is that the final step of this strategy is to design a nighttime governance model that responds to the unique needs and challenges faced by Barcelona. And this model involves determining what kind of nighttime office should the city have. For instance, where should it be situated, its mission, its vision, its role, its resources, its activities. And the goal of this office is to respond, as Maite said before, to coexistence demands, which are very different from emergency demands. In other words, to be more proactive than reactive. And the office will be responsible for guaranteeing that Barcelona's nighttime activities take place in a peaceful and a civilized and a safe way. And it must have a transversal and intersectoral nature to address the different areas and the actors and parties involved in these activities. It will also be responsible for implementing the action plan, as well as other measures, which will require involving different mediation services and noise, safety, and conflict management. So as you can see, there's many aspects of this plan still in the making, so it's still a bit soon to gauge the impact of this ongoing strategy. However, it's important to mention how by doing this, by embarking on this project, Barcelona is the first city in Spain to develop a comprehensive strategy to manage and govern its city after dark. And also Barcelona's proposition and proposal and current work is setting an example by working on this as part of a strategy that has different aspects and that looks at the governance model as an outcome of consulting all these different actors and involving the city in a solution for the city we want to have at night. And that's it from us.
Thank you, Andrina.
Thank you very much. I think it's super interesting, and I can see some similarities with issues that we have in different cities in Italy. I think Turin and also Bologna have like some problem with in the public space. That's because probably we are all in a warm region of the world, so people tend to gather more in the public space. But I think we're gonna maybe dig deeper with some question in the final part of the panel. Now I'm just gonna leave the room to Jean-Yves, who's gonna talk about some very interesting projects in France. France has a long history of very, very interesting projects in terms of nighttime economy in different cities, actually. So, Jean, if you're ready, you can just explain us something more about the current and past and future projects in France.
Hello, nice to be with you to share this, and thank you for the invitation to Tempo. Actually, I was not prepared to do that because it was first Joanna Levy who was involved in the preparation. So this contribution has been actually written by Joanna, who has gathered different inputs from different French local authorities on their night policies. I supplemented or amended this text a little from what I know of the way these policies have emerged in France, because I have studied that at the beginning and I've written several books on that. But I do not have much information on the policies currently carried out, and will therefore probably have some difficulties to elaborate more on the different recent initiatives. But what we can say is that the night, which has been a long forgotten dimension of the city policies, of the cities, the night has become an object of study for social science researchers and a field of action for local communities. Attention has focused on the definition of the limits of the night, on the inequalities of access to night services, on the living and working conditions of those who work at night, as well as on the economic dimension, what activities are necessary at night, for instance, and politics, one also. One of the main questions to be resolved, to be solved for the local political power is to know how to solve the conflicts, how to solve the conflicts of views to which the night gives rise, to know how far to regulate the nighttime activities. This is a subject, actually. And this question of the reconciliation between the city which sleeps, the city that has fun, and the one which works, has, since the emergence of temporal policies in France, constituted an important subject of reflection and has given rise to emblematic initiatives at the beginning of time policies in France. For instance, night walks through the cities, initiated by Luc Gazinski, a geographer very much involved in night studies in France. And this night walks through the cities during the night was to better understand what are the different activities in the cities during the night. And also other emblematic initiative like the 4 Thursdays in Rennes or Friday nights in Saint-Denis. So this was the first initiative in France. A major trend since the turn of the 2000s is the colonization of the night by activities usually deployed during the day. Mainly concerned by this evolution are retail activities in large cities. In France, we had some law in 2015, for instance, but also in 2009, which extend the possibility for retail, for shops to open during the weekend, but also during the night until midnight, for instance. So it's it's a kind of extension of day activities towards the night. And another strong trend is the overflow of restaurant activities and alcohol consumptions in public spaces like in Barcelona. It was explained previously. And this trend was initiated by the indoor smoking ban and accentuated by the COVID crisis. And we can talk about that, about the birth of terrace culture in large cities in France. So the overflow of activities in the streets, in the park, and everywhere. So local authorities must therefore take these issues into account in order to find a balance between the different users and users of the night, which are really important for tourism, for instance, and the nighttime economy. Just to give an example, there is a special interest nowadays of nightlife in Strasbourg related to the presence of European Parliament in Strasbourg, different sessions, So it's during the different sessions there are an intense activity during the night. So some local authorities have decided to set up public policies on nightlife. Alongside initiative aimed at solving a specific problem, like I have already said in Rennes or in Saint-Denis, these policies gave rise to two main forms of regulations: night charters and night councils. So nightlife charters, the cities of Lyon, Rennes, Strasbourg, and Lille have introduced nightlife charters between 2003 and 2010. This is also the case in Paris, where charters have been drawn up for specific areas, such as Place Sainte-Catherine, places, or in the 18 area of Paris, for instance, the 18 arrondissement, we say it in France. These are places which are very crowded during the night. And what is the problematic of the charters? The charters aim to preserve the peaceful use of urban spaces at night, as well as to develop the cultural offer and the attractiveness of the city in order to attract new visitors. It constitutes a cross-cutting policy that take into account the various problems linked to the night, such as public health, the quietness of local residents, private and public transportation, which are normally less important during the night. So the development of special transportation during the night bus and so on. And the environment, also the question of the environment and etc. and so on. The signatories of the charters are the different actors concerned by the problem of the night, by the night activities. This is an indicator of the transversal nature of night policies. Thus, we find representatives of municipal services, security actors, heads of night establishment, voluntary association. For instance, in Paris, there is an association called the Pierrot de la Nuit, night Pierrot, which are with kind of clowns, you know. We tried with a humoristic approach to incite the different people in the street to have to change their behavior, for instance, and they intervened in the busiest places of at night. To raise the consumer awareness of the problem for local residents, for instance. The various actors, mainly managers of the establishment, freely adhere to this charter. This is not something which is, you are not obliged to adhere, but they freely adhere to its principle. And in Lyon, for example, the nightlife establishment adhere to it each year. You know, they have to renew each year their participation. And the nightlife charters provide a framework for public policies relating to nightlife through major guidelines, the main one being the sharing of urban space between different users. The fight against noise, the development of commercial attractiveness, respect for local residents, and the prevention of risk, alcohol, drugs, damage, crime, and so on, constitute a set of guiding principles. And the signatory establishment must comply with the legislation on alcohol consumption. For instance, they have to offer non-alcoholic drinks during the happy hours in Lyon, or respecting also a time limit between the closing of the venue and the cessation of the service of alcoholic drinks, prohibiting entry to people who are clearly drunk, setting up a system of monitoring blood alcohol levels, in Strasbourg, for instance, and not allowing the use of the terraces after a certain time in Lyon and Lille. The city of Rennes has a partnership with a prevention association that intervenes in the city center on Thursday. Thursday is a very peak day for students during the night for the students, and also for Friday evening between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. The manager of establishment must also undertake to prevent noise pollution by respecting the legislation. And a prohibition on going out with alcohol in the street, for instance, for smoking, in order to limit the number of people who smoke, but also to prevent the noise, for instance. The city of Rennes stands out from the others by offering intervention in schools and extracurricular establishment to promote preventions and awareness. So, you know, a kind of conscientious to increase the consciousness of young people. And the city of Lille has put an end to the late opening exemption for certain establishments, which must all close at the same time now since 2011. And terraces must be closed 2 hours before the bar closing time. And what about the night councils? In order to monitor the charters, the cities have set up night councils, which are made up of actors from the nightlife world, political and technical representatives of the city services, as well as local residents. Local residents are grouped together in nightlife committee in Rennes, in Paris, or directly integrated in the night council. For instance, in Paris, there is the night council has set up a night owls committee in 2016, which is made by people who are volunteer to participate to different working groups. The task of these councils is to ensure that the charter is respected, to study requests for membership, and to seek solution in the event of conflict over the nighttime use. In Rennes, there are even working groups propose specific actions. These councils and committees are further step in the involvement of cities in taking nightlife into account. It's also it's a participation and involvement of different categories of population in the process of regulation of the nighttime economy. The Night Council of the City of Paris has a specific budget, and thanks to this, for instance, between 13 and 16 parks and gardens are open. You need to have security and things like that, so it's necessary to have a specific budget. So they are open at night during the summer, and about 50 sports facilities remain open until midnight. A Paris councillor has been dealing with these issues since 2014, and he became deputy in 2017. So it's a kind of nightlife mayor. Cities that are cautious to the nightlife policy have entrusted an elected official, usually deputy mayor, with the management of public policies related to the nightlife, not only Paris. This shows the willingness of cities to take into consideration that policy does not stop at night. And the collaboration, to conclude, the collaboration between the different existing entities concerned with nightlife allows public policies to be sought in a more transversal way on the one hand, and in a more complete way on the other, because the different visions are represented. Whether it is with the technical services of the cities, or elected politicians, nightlife professionals, local residents, partygoers association, this gathering of people makes it possible to think about the problems in a more transversal way. Such institutional framework allows to think about the problem in a global way, and thus to give rise to a collective reflection, and can lead to a new collective collaboration path. Joanna gave an updated information on the current Strasbourg night policy. The city of Strasbourg wishes to relaunch action in favor of nightlife, nighttime public policies. Specialists on the subject are to be mobilized to support the municipality in its reflections on the issues surrounding the night. Professionals, social science researchers, and consultants will contribute with their expertise with the aim of supporting the Euro metropolis of Strasbourg in its reflection. In March 2022, very recently, the city of Strasbourg launched a survey on nightlife policy issues. The project plans to carry out a survey among the various users of the night, such as night doctors, for instance, on night groceries, social scientists and external consultants will provide insight into the current situation. Following this survey, major thematics will be established on the basis of the results obtained. Working groups will be set up in which each stakeholder will be able to express its views and work on it on the selected themes, items. Residents, associations, and many other actors will be able to participate in order to better identify needs and expectations. Following the normal process of the implementation of public policies, the objective is to be able to implement a constructed project around mid-2023. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jean-Yves. I think it's super interesting the fact that there is some sort of roadmaps in every city where you establish this this collaborative way to create this vision, this charter that can then put nighttime economy in the political agenda. It can be a framework for nighttime economy policies and also projects and intervention. It's also very interesting that Paris has this or used to have like this budget dedicated to nighttime economy, which is something that I think is quite difficult in general, especially I think thinking about Italy, having a budget when you are when you are in the city council is quite complicated, especially if you are trying to do something new, something innovative, or something that is not like the business as usual. Thank you very much. I think that France is always like one of the best reference and benchmark in terms of nighttime economy, also because you started way before many other experiences. So thank you very much for your contribution.
The budget in Paris is 1.5 million.
But it's still active. The budget is still the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it's.
And the council meets about all the 3 months. You know.
Okay.
4 times in the year.
All right. Okay. Yeah. But still, like it's a consistent budget. I think it's Paris is very big, but I think that 1,400,000 is something like already quite relevant.
If necessary, I could I can give you the contact with the
yes, please.
Coca, who is at the head of the council, who is monitoring the council.
Sure.
And I think Paris is very interesting for this. Also with the night halls committee, I think it's very important to have this.
Yeah. Also, didn't know anything about this the education program you mentioned in the schools. So
yeah,
I think
in Rennes, yes.
In Rennes, I think that's super innovative. It's something that I never thought of. So I think it's an interesting input and stimuli for the future. We're gonna now move to Italy, and I'm gonna leave the room to Giulia, who's gonna explain her first year of experience as a night mayor in Trento.
Thank you, Riccardo. I'm really glad to be here, and I want to thank the municipality of Bolzano for the invitation. As Riccardo just told you, I'm the night mayor of Trento. I was appointed only a year ago, but a lot has changed since then. When the mayor asked me to become the night mayor of the city, the initial idea was to have someone in charge of dealing with the problems generated by the people going out at night. Trento is not really famous for its crazy nightlife, until now at least, but in the last year, as the number of university students has grown, there have been strong clashes between the needs of the residents, of the bartenders, and of the customers, obviously. So the administration wanted to find some solution for this phenomenon, which was becoming more and more of a problem. But when we started talking about this, we realized quite immediately that by focusing only on how problematic it was for the administration, for the residents, or for the decorum of the city, not only we would never be able to address the issue, but also we were completely missing the other side of the coin. And the other side of the coin is that, yes, during the night there can be problems, as at any other time of the day if it's not managed, but the nightlife can also bring huge value to the city. And so it's from this social, cultural, and economic value that we wanted to building our interventions and start building our policies. When I was thinking about how to summarize our policies, I thought it could be useful to divide them and talk about them in like 7 separate blocks and steps. And I want to start from this because I think it could be useful in particular for small, medium-sized cities as Trento and as Bolzano that never actually design policies for the night, to understand where we can start from, where we can start to start managing the night. Yes, so first step, trivial but essential, creating space for the need of socialization at night. This is one of the most important things to do, and this means adapting existing places, but mostly including the need for socialization at night in the urban planification of the cities. And this is crucial, but because what we are paying for now is the price for not having done it before. So we need to start from this. The second step is to give legitimacy to workers of the nighttime economy. And this means obviously creating the conditions for them to work, but in my opinion, it also means primarily being clear about what they can and what they cannot do. Boundaries are never very popular, but if we define them together, then it can be useful. The third step is obviously to ensure quiet and rest. And we need to redirect people from not suitable places to more suitable ones, and to the ones that we created. And we need to do this because it's a fundamental right, obviously, but also because we are dealing with a cultural change. And we need to guide people towards this change and enable them to grasp the value of the night, even for those that don't actively live the night. And being angry, stressed, and suffering because you couldn't sleep at night, it's not the best condition to do that. The first step is to exploit, in a way, the power of socialization to improve the livability of the city. Having people on the street at night can be very powerful in a way, because the sense of belonging can lead to taking better care of it, of a place, but also because it obviously increases the safety levels and prevent criminal acts from happening. But also it can increase the perception of safeness and of safety, because maybe an empty, dark street at night, it's not dangerous by itself, but one can perceive it as dangerous. And this can stop people from going out, from dressing in a certain way. So we need to work in that sense. The fifth step, in my opinion, is to guarantee the access to the night at everyone, and no matter gender, age, sexual orientation, disability, social, economic, religious background, because there is no point in creating the perfect night if there are groups of people that cannot experience it. And so we need to remove a lot of barriers that there are for living the night. And I think we need also to start focusing on the people that are not out on the streets at night, but they could benefit from it, but they don't experience that night because of many reasons, because maybe they don't have friends, because maybe they don't feel safe, because maybe they live outside the city, because maybe there are architectural barriers that prevent them from living it. So we need to work in this sense. The sixth step is to create better knowledge of the needs that there are in the city. We suffer from a lack of scientific debate, at least in Italy, about this topic, so we need to work on that. And the last step is to create a new narration of the nightlife and start talking about the values that it has and how can be good for our city. And we also, for example, need to start saying that we are not doing this only for university students, but we are doing this for everyone. And this is crucial also because it creates more legitimacy outside, but also inside the institution for having these policies. Obviously, this takes a lot of time. We started only a year ago, so we still have a long road ahead, but we are carrying out some good projects, I think. And I'm going to briefly talk about 3 and then I conclude. One of the first things that we did is to create an academic research with the University of Trento to analyze the needs of bartenders and people living the night. The research started several months ago. We still don't have the results, but in a few months we will have them. The second project we are working on concerns the creation of some public workshops, because we realize that many thoughts and many reasoning that we did with other politicians and the administration staff were remaining within the administration. So we need to go out and talk to other people and create a collective vision of the night. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And the third project regards the animation of 3 parks in the city. There will be events, music, many initiatives during the summer and the autumn, and they will be carried out by associations, bartenders, and students, etc. And there is in particular one project and one park that I'm really attached to. That is a park that is in front of the station, a place that for years has been a center of drug dealing, and as in many other cities, I suppose, and that now is quite abandoned. And I'm really attached to that because the design of this project represents a little bit the method with which we want to work. First of all, because the idea was born from the constant dialogue with the student community. It was not that we decided and dropped from above. Second of all, because the project came about after previous experimentation that tested the area. Thirdly, because the place is quite suitable because there are mainly only offices around the square and the park. So we hope that we can give space to this need without disturbing, we hope, anyone. And I think it's a good project because we are giving also people the possibility of having live music until 2 a.m. And this is something new for Trento. And because sometimes we ask ourselves why people always drink too much at night. And sometimes the answer is just that there is nothing else to do. There is no other way to meet our people. So this is what they're doing. So creating new activities that last longer, it's really important also for this topic. And the last reason why I think it's important is that it's a way of caring for abandoned spaces and using the energy of a community that come together to take care of it. This was it. I hope I didn't overrun the time limit, and I give back the floor to Riccardo.
No worries. Thank you very much, Julia. I think it's super interesting, your experience, because you're actually trying to develop the infrastructure that for the night, which is lacking in Trento right now. And in that sense, you can actually experiment new approaches, like bottom-up approaches, collaborating with different parts, different stakeholders in the city. And also the two things that really struck me were the fact that actually this like overlooked issue of frustration and boredom in nightlife is actually one of the main issues of nightlife, because like when you don't have any sort of cultural stimuli, cultural experience or cultural offer, and everything is relying on alcohol consumption, and we know how the markets works, and normally the markets goes in mainly in one direction, which is the drop of price. So like increasing quantity over quality and all of that. So the fact that that you're trying to put the attention of the cultural contents and the diversity of fruition, I think it's a great start, and it's something that also other cities should think more about. Okay, so now we have our final speaker, who's Emily from Bologna. She was also elected last year, and she's gonna talk about their first projects or conversation around nighttime economy in Bologna.
Thank you very much. We are definitely the last of the mill here because, of course, we've only been in office for a few months. So I think what I'm going to talk about is at a very, very, very early stage compared to what all you are doing in your cities. I have tried to make a presentation after 2 years of a pandemic. You would think that I would be used to sharing it on Google Meet, but I actually haven't yet. So I'm going to try. And let me see if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. Not too sure how to make it bigger. Unfortunately, this is, I'm noting that on Google Meet, you can't share a PDF. So I'm going to have to show it to you this way. But can you read it? More or less? Okay. Okay, so I'm the vice mayor of Bologna, and I was also appointed with this for the first time in office. There has been an official consideration of the nighttime. We had proposed a night mayor during the electoral campaign, and this idea was accepted by the coalition. It's a center-left coalition with many different parties within it. Bologna is a city in Emilia-Romagna, so sort of northern towards the center of Italy, but still North Italy. Population is almost 400,000. And if we consider the greater metropolitan area, the Città Metropolitana, as we call them, then it's slightly over 1 million. This new administration entered in office in October. And so again, this was the first time that night economy became officially contemplated and recognized by the public administration, with this office of a deputy mayor in charge of night economy and night policies. So the first thing that we started considering was, of course, which model should we adopt? I was familiar with different models that I'd seen around the world and even traveled to study and get to know better. Of course, the mayor's office, night mayors that were elected or chosen by a nightlife or cultural scene or a foundation like the Night Mayor Foundation in Amsterdam, night czars, as Amy Lemay in London, of course, nighttime managers, nighttime mayors, which were chosen by the public administration, and also nighttime commission, nighttime councils, we could add, of course. So the first idea was, what are we going to use in Bologna? And one concept that I was really adamant about is that we had to make that choice together with all the stakeholders that live the night in our city. I really believe the success of a new public policy, especially because even though Bologna is a city where nightlife thrives, and it is also chosen by people for its nightlife, for its subcultures and cultural offer. It hadn't had a plan on night ever. So I think that the success of new policy is really determined by how much its recipients and ultimately the potential protagonists are in the construction of that public policy. So even though we do have quite some pressure, because of course there's great expectance of this plan, we haven't chosen a model yet, but we are planning to do so together with all the stakeholders in our city. This is a sort of the general plan that we're going to put into place to do so. First of all, mapping and meeting stakeholders. This has started right away from October when we started this administration. Through meeting all the stakeholders, we are going to build a questionnaire, a survey on what kind of night and what expectation and needs our citizens have on the night in our city. We are going to live and test the night, opening a dedicated email and a night bus so that stakeholders can literally write to us and ask us to test their night, to go and be in a resident's house when there's a lot of noise and see what that experience is, or at a restaurant or at a club and see how that's working out for the workers and for people who go to that club and enjoy nightlife there. And so there's going to be a virtual part of testing and learning about the city's night expectations and needs with the questionnaire, and one that's physical where we go and test the night of our citizenship. Also with a bus, of course, so that's going to be fun just to inform the citizenship of what we're doing, ask them to take the survey and tell them that there's going to be a participatory process on nighttime. Of course, we are studying existing night policies around the world and exchanging best practices, so occasions like this are very, very useful for us because we are put forth with practical case studies and what administrations have done before us. So it's crucial to learning and further bettering what we're trying to study and build together. There is going to be a participatory process. I was very happy to hear that in all your speeches, because we also are going to accompany the process with workshop debates, focus groups with all the stakeholders that we've put together. And it's going to finish in a great final night economy conference, which you will probably all be invited to. I will put that forth right now so you can organize yourselves. I think it's in autumn, but of course I'll give you the date as soon as we have it. And the idea is that is the moment where we put together everything we've learned. We discuss also with other nighttime offices or councils or commissions or mayors around the world and find something finally that works for Bologna, a tailor-made system for our city, taking into consideration everything that we've heard and learned from our citizens and stakeholders during the last few months. This process, of course, is ongoing right now. Stakeholders, I really mean everybody, basically, because we have been meeting with owners and workers from clubs, concert halls, dance halls, theaters, etc. So from the owners to the bartenders to the bouncers, everybody who makes those venues work, of course, artists, and also sound, light, and stage professionals, agents, managers, promoters, everything within the cultural scene. Residents, especially residents where there is a density in nighttime activity, of course. City users, because as I showed you before, Bologna has this great difference between the actual residents and people who come in to work or study in the city every single day. So we have to really think about both those numbers, the 400,000 residents and a little over 1 million, to think of the actual impact our policies can have on those numbers and what effect they can have. Restaurants and businesses, law enforcement, of course, from local and state police to firefighters, everybody who's involved, health professionals. Bologna, I have to say, used to be avant-garde on policies on a safe sexual health or safe drug and alcohol use. And I think it lost that characteristic in the last few years. And the public discourse was more involved on, you know, criminalization at the worst case of potential use, and best case scenario, just sort of hiding that issue under the carpet and not talking about it at all. So I think we really need to have a cultural shift in mentality and working on promoting a positive attitude on positive sexual health, education, information, and of course, information on safe use of substances and the risks in those substances, as well as gambling, the importance of chill out areas in clubs, the importance of just giving out water for free and not charging at a certain time of the night, all things that you know better than I do that are involved in the health area of the night. Environmental associations, where we are already starting with agreements with our clubs for the use of the reusable plastic cups in polycarbonate that can be returned for a small charge, and that way we're trying to reduce plastic and glass also in open areas. And also we are discussing the new regulation on the acoustic impact of clubbing and the musical scene, of course. The university community, 90,000 students, so that's almost a quarter of our population, so we need to be in contact with them to devise our new policy. Bus and taxi drivers, of course, they know the night better than anyone, and sanitation workers for the same reason. This is who we are talking with, and on the basis of all these talks and meetings and workshops and focus groups, we are building that questionnaire that we are going to give the whole city. And then inside, we are also reorganizing our city hall sectors because, of course, as I was saying, there was never a nighttime policy office in our city hall. So we are building a cross-sectoral team. I think that is crucial, and all of you were saying that as well. So I'm happy to confirm this. And so the team is going to, of course, be comprised of deputy mayors and city council, but also staff from all the involved administration sectors. So, of course, responding to all those stakeholders that we were talking about: culture, productive activities, urban safety, public transport. We do not have enough public transport at night, and this is definitely something that we need to work on. Public space, health, welfare, environment, and equal rights and anti-discrimination. We want to use night policies to promote a safe space and really rethink the idea of safety in our cities as not something that is brought forth by law enforcement. They come when something's wrong, but promoting a safer space through culture, through participation, through people who actually walk in our streets and in our piazzas, our squares, and our parks, etc. And we can't have space for or time for any type of discrimination or gender violence in our nighttime life. So that's what we want to work on, of course. This is part of the desired outcome, of course, promoting a positive idea of night, because again, as you were all saying, in Italy, for sure, there is still a negative idea according to night. Too many times, night is seen as a problem and not as a potential offer for the city, and even something that really brings value, richness, develops new skills in our cities, as instead we all know it is. We want to therefore recognize and promote the quality of nighttime professionals and a positive club culture. We would like to build the vision that we have on night together through that participatory process and build the action plan on our night together. We are really keen on strengthening our national and international relation with other 18-hour or 24-hour cities, as many of you are. Of course, solving conflict in shared public space. We also have issues, especially in our squares, with residents and nighttime users of the city. And so we have to find that balance to guarantee a right to the city to all stakeholders. Again, yes, sorry, I said that before, but use the nighttime economy to promote safe spaces. And in the end, it's all about creating an effective and tailor-made nighttime governance model. At the end of all this, we will choose if we want a night mayor, a nighttime commission, a nighttime council, and the tools that we have to update that model and keep it working and keep that machinery actual and effective during the years. And I think we might, I don't know if Ricardo is going to touch upon this later, but I can say a little bit about our expectancy on a global level. And that is definitely something that I was hearing again from all of you. So a charter of shared nighttime economy values. We need EU funding on nighttime programs in urban contexts, and a coalition of those 18-hour or 24-hour cities working together on night economy that could really help us. So thank you. And here's to building a better night together.
Thank you very much, Emily. And I think that's, yeah, the approach that you're having in Bologna is super interesting in the sense that actually you are mirroring in nighttime economy all the urgent topics that are, of course, in more and more evident in our society. So inequality, the environment crisis, the workers' rights, LGBTQI plus rights, and the safer spaces. I think that this is like an interesting shift in nighttime economy policies and movement in worldwide. While in the beginning, nighttime economy policy makers and other kind of practitioners, even the academia was really like focusing on the economic aspects of the night, and so the potential for tourism and the safety in terms of like policing and regulations and stuff like that. Now we are seeing that more and more professionals are starting to introduce some more innovative and more social and contemporary kind of mindset, which is super interesting. And I think, yes, in terms of international coalitions and networks, we are still lacking a bit of synergy in terms of different city councils, but that's also because probably each experience is very fresh. So this kind of stuff needs time, and probably in the next year or so we'll find a way to create more synergic networks and more collaborative projects on an international level. I think that's before leaving the space for the Q&A session. I just wanted to ask you, like, briefly, what you think are the main barriers right now for all these interesting projects that you mentioned over the panel. Like, what do you think the key issues to overcome? What are the also the solution that we can find together to overcome the key issues that probably in different ways everybody is experiencing in this like nighttime economy network? I don't know if Barcelona, which is or you, Jean-Yves, have some ideas on. Yeah.
Yes. So in terms of the current challenges we were just discussing, and first, it was really interesting to listen to everyone's presentations, and it's, as you were saying, it's great to see how we're all going in more or less the same direction, but at different stages, and it's we're all looking at strategies with more or less the same components, but in different order, and it's great to see this synergy in the region. But when it comes to issues and main challenges, we were discussing how currently, since the goal is to have a nighttime governance model, one of the main challenges is politically how to create that model and to determine to gain consensus and to define where it will politically sit in the current administration, as well as to then find a way for it to continue in the future.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So you still need to somehow like clarify to the public your position and find the right interaction with all the different parts somehow.
Yes. So for now, it's currently in the making. There's not a clear model defined. We're still at the first stage of participatory discussions to identify what are the main priorities when it comes to areas and thematic priorities as well, to then determine what the model will be. But of course, there's political considerations since to get this model in order to create it with the support of the city government, it'll have to gain a certain level of approval and validation by these actors. So this is perhaps one of the biggest challenges that lie ahead.
Yeah, for us is the first.
Okay. And I don't know if you, Jean-Yves, with your experience as a sociologist and working in the field of time and work, if you think that there is still like some sort of obstacles in thinking about like nighttime workers as proper workers which have rights. I don't know, for instance, in Italy, for a long time and probably still now, not most, but like there is a big part of nighttime economy which is quite informal, like in terms of job contracts, rights. Like everybody who works in bars or clubs, they probably work from 11 to 6 a.m. So like in a very problematic time frame. And there isn't a real conversation about what rights do they have, what kind of health, safety and health, I don't know, support they should have, because they are working in a very problematic environment. And do you think that there are some interesting projects, or there is still like some obstacles in that sense?
I think that as a sociologist of labor, of work, we know the working at night is well analyzed in the formal economy, as you say. For instance, now we have a lot of studies providing inputs concerning the working conditions, also the health effect of working at night. But you're true when you say that there is a few information about these categories in bars, restaurant, bars, mainly bars and discotheques and so on. So it's a kind of I do not know in France analysis, for instance, study very serious scientific analysis on these categories.
Okay.
Perhaps it exists, but but what we can say that if people work at night, either in a firm or either in a shops or either in a bar, the condition will be the impact will be the same. The impact on for instance, sleeping, for instance, or also the fact that they are more also perhaps more engaged in drinking alcohol and so on. So it's necessary to investigate this. I'm sure of that. We have at this moment, perhaps we will have some more information, because I am a member of editorial committee of journal. The name is Temporalité, and we have launched a call for contribution on nighttime economy. So perhaps there are PhD students who are doing some such works, but I have not really information on that actually for the moment. But you're true, it's necessary to, if we want to know more about about that, we have to perhaps it is the one of the possibility, one of the project that could be set up by a council of night, for instance, in different cities, in Paris and so on.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if Julia, either Julia or Emily, want to add something, or if we have.
There was just one thing I want to add. It's about for instance, in cities like Bologna. I know Bologna. I've been there several times also, but very student city where there are a lot of students. Like in Rennes also. Rennes is more or less the same. More or less the same population and the same share of students. What interesting thing that has been promoted in Rennes is to find alternatives to the bars, and to find alternative through different kind of cultural or sports or artistic alternatives, in municipal devices, So it's very important to try. And it was inspired by a policy in Spain, actually, in Oviedo, in Gijón also. Those young people in the streets until very late in the night, drinking alcohol, consuming drugs, and so on. So they have. This is the project, not a project, it's actually an action of the night of the fourth Thursday, the week of the first, the night of the fourth Thursday. It's to promote and to develop activities managed, monitored by the municipality. So it needs a budget because people have to be there in sport infrastructure and so on. So it's very interesting to find also alternatives.
Of course, that's essential. Sorry, we are running a bit out of time. I don't know if Julia or Emily wants to add something about obstacles they encountered, or something related to the topics that we were discussing now.
Yes, maybe just briefly, because I think there are two main problems. One is, the first is the one that Andreina perfectly explained before, correlated to the fact that we don't only have a problem of political legitimacy, but also of social account. For example, the title Sindaca della Notte in Italy is still a great source of hilarity, but I refuse to move to the English version just to be more legitimate. But it's a symptom of how much work we still need to do. And the second problem, I think, is that for this kind of issue, one solution is not enough to solve the problems. And we, like, just one person deciding for everyone one solution is not a good political model for this issue. So participatory models are great, but not always are like politicians are willing to move to that model. So we have these two problems, in my opinion.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can see.
I'll just add briefly, I'm sorry to go to such a practical aspect, but for us, one of the main issues is finance, like funding, because at best, at worst, nighttime economy doesn't exist. At best, now that we are building it, the idea that actually there has to be an investment and also sizable investment to make it work is still, you know, a new brain crazy idea that blows people's minds. And instead, of course, such as every other policy, we do need funding to make it work. Some sizable amounts. I'm thinking about nighttime public transport, right?
Yeah.
New lines on public transport, of course, that's a huge cost for public administrations. So I wish that there was, or even funding for soundproofing clubs or, you know, local cultural venues, training professionals, training our law enforcement. I know about the No Cayem protocol that Barcelona did in large venues, which I think is an amazing idea. You know, these are all great ideas that do need funding. And I think that in Italy, there still isn't really an idea of how this is professional work, and it needs professional investing and funding to actually be carried out for sure.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, I don't know if there are any questions from the crowd.
Hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name, I don't have a question. My name is Christine Obermeier. I work as a planning officer in the municipality of Bolzano. I am also a resident of historic city center, so maybe that qualifies me to a suggestion, just a suggestion. Of course, I'm no expert in your field, but I hear that you're so strictly dividing nighttime from daytime. I suggest you consider both. What happens during the day is crucial for what happens during the night. I say if we give over our town to Airbnbs and we are pricing out our residents, this of course changes the way we use the town, the way we use our city center by night, because if there are no more residents, it will become maybe easier to have fun at night. So from a town planner's perspective, I wouldn't divide those two things as if they were two different planets. And on the other hand, maybe let's think about why nighttime activities still happens mainly in the historic town center. Let's think about how important our town centers are for our identity, cultural identity, for the residents, for the tourists. Let's value them more, and maybe speak more with the planners. In Bologna, I hear you're creating a staff from all involved administrative sectors. I couldn't see planning. Just a suggestion. Sorry.
I don't know if any of you have any comments on this.
We should definitely include planning. I put it as public space, but that's under our urban planning sector. So they are definitely involved, and I agree that it's important to think about the spectrum on day and night. I think maybe we emphasize night so much just because it's never been thought of, at least in our city, as, you know, something that stands on its own and has its own dignity. But of course, you're right to remind us to keep both those faces of the same coin in mind. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add that, yeah, of course, day and night are part of the same natural, let's say, cycle. But in a city, there are some differences also in the work conditions, and also for example, in the number of people who are active at night compared to the day. So, for instance, you have a small percentage of people who are actually outside their houses at night compared to the people who are outside of their houses during the day. The transports and all the facilities have different level of there are different needs. Of course, it's all part of the same human natural cycle, but I think it's recognizing the existence of the night, as Emily just says, puts the attention on the fact that nighttime economy, nightlife in general exists and has to be considered on the same page as daytime. And of course, you cannot like consider daytime and nighttime as the same in terms of needs, but you need to consider them as with the same importance at least, or at least you need to consider the night and not forget in your urban planning, urban policies and city council work.
May I add something? I think it's very interesting to have these policies concerning the night. And also there are some positive effects of on reflecting on that. For instance, the development of transportation during the night for people who are going out for leisure. But these buses or specific lines during the night has been used mostly by the workers, for instance. So it's a kind of positive effect because they had previously no way, no solution for transportation unless a car. What I want to just to finish on that is that it's very important to have these nightlife policies looking at the nightlife economy, but we should have in mind to keep, I speak as a sociologist of time, so to speak the specificity of night, For instance, there are specific activities during the night. The first is to rest, due to the chronobiology, but also to, of course, have leisure and so on. But for instance, the fact that there is a colonization of night by the activities of retail, for instance, until midnight or later in the night, I think it's something we have to regulate more. And because night is not for doing shopping, for instance, it's in my opinion. And these workers who are doing that have very bad conditions, because in retail the conditions are not good. So they stop at midnight and then they have to take transportation to go back to their homes. They arrive at 1 or 2 o'clock at home. They are not, it's something that we should regulate more. And to keep the specificity for the night. The night is, yes, it's for rest. It's also for leisure. It's also, and also activities, what we call la ville de garde. I don't know how to, but approvisionment of, for food for the day and so on. So this is the activities of the night. And we have to keep, perhaps, to think about how to keep the specificity of the night.
Thank you very much.
Riccardo, we have some questions.
Yes, some questions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Mark, can you hear us? Yes, there you are.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for this super interesting session. I am Mark from the Barcelona Time Use Initiative, the acting secretariat of the local and regional time governments network. And we were really interested on all your policies that you just explained. So we were wondering whether or not it would be possible for you to share some, I don't know, maybe a website or like your local website or any sort of information regarding these policies, so we can gather them maybe, and if you are interested also share it within the network.
Yes, I think that we can collect all the informations and then send it to you after the panel, of course. Thank you very much for that. I don't know if there aren't any more questions. I think it's almost time for us to end the conversation. Okay, Mark, thank you for your email. I'm gonna just copy that. I think it was a very interesting panel. I would like to thank everybody for their contribution, and I hope that we managed to touch all the key points and the key topics concerning nightlife and urban policy. Of course, there are so many other. Nightlife is super complex, so they would need like an entire week of panels and conversations to actually dive deeper into each individual topics. But yeah, I would like to thank the city of Bolzano for hosting this panel, and every single speaker that has shared their experience and their contribution today. Thank you very much.
Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you so much to Riccardo for the moderation of this very interesting panel.
Yeah.
And we write to all to you and send you the informations that we have in the office. And I would like to invite you also to participate to the local and government network. We have founded a few months ago. Barcelona leads this network, and so if cities would like to join this network, so you can write me and we keep in touch and see what's going on. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you
Good. Very much.
Thank you so much again.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
You, Bolzano, you will send a link with for the registered for the.
Yes, the whole panel is registered on the YouTube channel of the city of Bolzano.
Okay.
So I write you the link so you can listen and see it again.